If you come and train in Japan, you'll want to know how to communicate with people whilst you're over here. Today I'm bringing you 5 essential Japanese phrases and expressions that you can use in the dojo. Hi, it's Andy here from the Kendo Show, and I'm here to bring you 5 essential Japanese phrases and expressions that you can use whilst training over here in Japan. Now, before I get stuck in, I'd like to make a quick apology for not bringing you this video sooner. I've had a few technical difficulties with some of my gear and what have you, and I'm actually without a microphone at the minute, and I'm actually recording this straight off my iPhone, so a bit lower quality both in terms of sound and video than normal, so sorry about that in advance. I'll do my best to get back up to the normal way of doing things as soon as I can, and I'll also try and get some more videos out to you as soon as I can as well. So today we're talking about 5 Japanese expressions and words that you can use in a dojo here in Japan. You can use them in your own country as well. They're worth knowing because they are very, very useful to get yourself communicating with Japanese teachers and other Japanese Kendo practitioners, so that you can not only enjoy practicing Kendo together with them, but also benefit from their teachings as well. Okay, so number 1 is onegaishimasu. That's a really, really useful Japanese phrase, and it basically is a way of requesting something. It's a way of saying please. Okay, onegaishimasu. You probably heard it a lot. It's used a lot in Kendo, and we say it at lots of different times. The most often place that you hear it is probably at the start of practice, when you first face against an opponent and you do dei, like this, you dei, and you say onegaishimasu. Okay, it means please, and in this case it means please practice with me, please teach me. It's also a good phrase to use after practice when you see a teacher perhaps that you've practiced with and you want their advice. You can go up to them and you can say, "Sensei, onegaishimasu," and that's one way that they can give you advice. Or before the practice as well, you get your bogo on, you can run up to the teacher, to the sensei, and the same way you can give them a bow and say, "Onegaishimasu, sensei, onegaishimasu." This means I'd like to practice with you. Okay, so very, very useful. It's a polite form of Japanese that can be used with every sort of person in the dojo. So very, very useful one, and I do hope that you find use with it. Okay, so the next Japanese phrase that we're going to use is, there's kind of 2 here. It's the same word, but there's a present and there's a past form of it. Okay, so the present form is arigatou gozaimasu. Okay, this means thank you or thank you very much. Okay, it's a very polite way. This is the present form. This is something that you say for sort of thanks. It's a way of saying thanks in advance, and also just a way of saying thank you in a sort of standard way. Okay, slightly more, it's not really polite, but if you're referring to something that's in the past, and maybe when somebody has done something for you and that particular action has finished, so perhaps you've had practice and you've finished the practice, at that point you would say arigatou gozaimashita. Okay, that means past tense. Okay, so after the practice you'd say arigatou gozaimashita. Okay, and that means thank you. Okay, and it's a everyday Japanese word, so you don't only have to use it in the dojo. If you come over to Japan and you're in the shop or whatever and the person hands you your change, you can say arigatou gozaimasu. Okay, so very, very useful phrase, and very worth remembering. Okay, so we've learned how to say please, and we've learned how to say thank you. So logically we'll move on to SUMIMASEN. This means sorry. Okay, this is a way to apologize in Japanese. Okay, it's a very broad-reaching way of apologizing. There's several ways actually that you can say sorry or express regret in Japanese, but this is the most useful as it can be said in lots of different situations. So for example in Kendo, for maybe in the situation where you try to hit kote and you miss and you hit the guy on the elbow, or you try to hit do and you hit him in the ribs, we've all been there. And you can say SUMIMASEN, okay? And it also helps if you gesture, SUMIMASEN, like this is okay. And you can say sorry. Okay, I'm sure they'll understand you. Now, there's lots of ways to say sorry in Japanese, like I said. And you may hear others, perhaps if the other person misses you, hits you here and there and stuff like that. One thing that you may hear, or another way to say sorry in Japanese is gomen nasai, okay? But I recommend that you stick with sumimasen, okay? But if you hear somebody say gomen nasai, or perhaps sometimes, not so frequently, particularly with older high-ranking senseis, when they miss an area of the bogu, they say a term that is gobure. Okay, this also is a way of expressing regret or sorry. Okay, but I recommend to stick with sumimasen. Okay, so we've covered those really three basic manners terms there. We've learned how to say please, we've learned how to say thank you, we've learned how to say sorry. Okay, so they'll cover you for loads of situations in the dojo already. However, let's move on to something that's a little bit more, a little bit more higher level, not so much though, and we'll start talking about how to introduce yourself, because if you come over here to Japan, you're going to meet a lot of new people. So, what do we say? Well, the first thing you can say when you meet somebody for the first time is hajimemashite. Okay? Hajimemashite. That means I'm pleased to meet you, or it's a way of expressing meeting somebody for the first time. Okay? Hajimemashite. Sounds very similar perhaps to the start of a kendo shiai, when the shimpan, the referee, says hajime, because hajime means start or beginning. Okay, so this is the first time that you meet somebody, it's the beginning of your relationship with them, and you say hajimemashite. Okay, so number 5. This is another term that is used a lot when you're first meeting somebody new. Okay, this is a term actually that isn't often translated well into English, because we don't really have a similar term. But when you first meet somebody, after saying you're pleased to meet them, you can say yoroshiku onegaishimasu. Okay, yoroshiku onegaishimasu. Okay, this contains onegaishimasu. Okay, that's that first word that we learned, onegaishimasu, which as we now know means please. Okay, and yoroshiku in this case is kind of means to be good or to be kind. So a way it's often translated is please be kind to me. Okay, and it's a sort of set phrase that is often used in Japan when people first meet each other. Okay, so yoroshiku onegaishimasu. It also has another use, which isn't only at the time when you first meet somebody, but when you ask somebody to do you a favor, or could you take this over there for me, and they say yeah, sure, I can do it, you can reply with them yoroshiku onegaishimasu. Okay, and this is a way to say, it's kind of a way to say thank you, but you can also say the other way we learn to say thank you too, arigatou gozaimasu, as well. So there's lots of ways. But another way that you often hear it in Kendo is after you've finished practice, you can say mata yoroshiku onegaishimasu. Okay, and mata means again. Okay, so this is a way to say to somebody, I'd like to meet you again, or like to practice with you again. Okay, so yoroshiku onegaishimasu is a very, very useful phrase. Okay, so I said there was 5 expressions and phrases that I was going to teach you today that you can use in the Japanese dojo, but I've got a little bonus for you. We're going to look at some small words that are also really, really useful to help you through your daily life while training here in Japan. Number 1 is DESU. Okay, DESU is a phrase that's used in, well, a word used in Japanese that's kind of the equivalent in English to is or are, and basically it's a very, very useful way to form a very basic short sentence. For example, Andy desu. Okay, this means I'm Andy. Okay, so very, very useful, and worth remembering. Okay, and the next one we're going to look at is no. Okay, no is what's called a particle actually in Japanese, and it's a way of linking words together to express ownership or some kind of connection. Okay, in English we have like a apostrophe s to express ownership, but it's not exactly the same because it's also used in a situation like Igirisu no Andy desu. Okay, and this means Igirisu is Great Britain, that's where I'm from, and it means I'm Andy desu, from Great Britain. Igirisu no Andy desu. Okay, so the last one we're going to look at is hai. Okay, this is very, very important in the dojo, and this means yes or affirmative. Okay, it's a way of expressing affirmation. Okay, hai. And you should say this when you're being told advice or somebody says something to you. When they finish their sentence, you should respond with hai. Okay, and that's going to show very good manners and showing that you are attentive to what they're saying. So there was 5 essential and useful Japanese phrases and expressions that you can use whilst training in Japan. Also, feel free to use them at your home dojo as well, because I think they're really, really worth remembering, and they can really help your study of Kendo, especially if you have Japanese sensei visiting and stuff like that. They may not understand so much English, so it's great to get that communication with them as well. So once again, apologies for the quality of today's video, because I am sort of in between things with all my equipment and what have you, and I haven't been able to make videos as quickly as I would have liked to, but I am working on that, and I will be bringing you more in the future. The Kendo Show is indeed supported by our sponsors, KendoStar, which is the internet's premier retailer of bespoke and order-made, I believe actually is the correct word. I heard that bespoke is actually an English British term. So anyway, it's order-made in Japan. Fantastic Kendo gear. I'm using it myself. I designed it myself. It's me operating it, and that's what funds this channel basically. So if you do enjoy episodes of the Kendo Show, do make sure that you're hitting the like button and that you're subscribing to the channel, and you can support us by purchasing your Kendo equipment through KendoStar. We do have a Patreon channel as well, or a Patreon fund, which also helps go towards funding the channel. So do check that out as well if you're interested in supporting us. And that's it for today. I'll do my best to get another video out to you as soon as I can. Thank you very much for joining me today, and I do hope that it was very, very useful. Since becoming a Kendo professional, it has been my dream to encourage the development of Kendo by making top quality, relevant equipment readily available to Kendoka no matter where they are. It is a simple fact that the demographic of Kendo practitioners in Japan is somewhat different to in other countries, with most Japanese practitioners beginning Kendo as small children, and many of them losing interest when they reach adulthood. The vast majority of active Kendoka in Japan are under the age of 21. With this in mind, domestic budoga companies develop their products to best suit the needs of these young competitors. Armour is basically becoming lighter, with a strong focus on success in competition, even at the stake of adequate protection or even durability. More so than in years past, Kendogu is becoming considered a disposable item. With the continual growth of Kendo as an international activity, many Japanese companies have set up divisions and websites to serve customers abroad. Sadly, they often do not appreciate the differences between the requirements of international and domestic customers, or they simply ignore them and continue to sell the very same products internationally as they are selling in Japan. It cannot be denied that Japanese Kendogu craftsmanship is universally famous, and it's a reputation well deserved. However, the current trend in Japan of low-cost, lightweight, disposable bogu is not well suited to the needs of Kendoka overseas. I had an idea. What if I were to design and produce a series of Kendogu designed exactly for people like me? People who started Kendo overseas and had faced the problems that come with that. What if I were to produce a set of armour specifically for people who want a good quality set that they can use for any type of encounter. Shiai, training, motodachi, all of these would be possible. And even better, it would be made from top quality materials by expert craftsmen, so it would be built to last. It could be used by beginners and advanced practitioners alike, and it would be all delivered with a premium level of service that is unrivaled in the industry. I got straight to work, and I decided to take my experience in the field and work together with some of Japan's top craftsmen to develop the world's first brand of kendogu that brings elite Japanese craftsmanship and the specific needs of the international market together into one perfect series of bespoke kendo armour. My name is Andy Fisher, and this is my dream. This is KendoStar.